Hey guys, welcome back to Maxplained Dawn of War Unification. Today I have another faction guide for you, this time for the Imperial Fists Siege Vanguard. Very long name, the Imperial Fists. They are a Space Marine chapter. They are, as the name suggests, sieging and defending is their specialties. Although in Dawn of War you normally do not want to sit back and defend and turtle. This is a certain way to lose the game. But they have really nice, special things to their name. They have a special tech tree in a sense that you have some stuff in tier 1 that normally is for other factions in tier 2, but they have then other stuff not in return, so there's something going on for them. They have a special infantry trait, which I'm talking later on, being stubborn and stuff like that, so you can and must play them a little differently than you would normally play with your Space Marine factions, which makes in turn for interesting tactics and a lot of different openers you can go for. In general, you can play a prolonged tier 1, tier 1.5 very well with them, and why I will explain you, of course, in the save game as usual. And here we are on the one and only map where I tried to put everything Imperial Fists have on one screen, so you see they have quite a assortment of different units and weapons and stuff. But as usual we will look through the unit caps and resources first. I will tackle or mention something in the resources which I will explain in more detail a little later. But yeah, the resources are normal requisition and power. You get requisition from your listening posts and power from your siege generator. Sticking to requisition for now, you get for capturing a point +6. Then you can upgrade them with weapons, but weapon upgrades do not contribute to the income. The income is increased by these Fortify thingies here. That are basically add-ons also, and you can get up to 3 add-ons per listening post. The thing is, they are all depleted by now, so you will not see the full effect. But yeah, you have like +6 for the point, +12 if you have the listening post, plus 18 for the first Fortify, plus 25 for the second, 24 for the next Fortify, and for the last one plus 30. In return that you have another level of fortification or income from a listening post, you do not have any global requisition upgrades. So yeah, it's all what you get. These fortifications for the listening posts are tier locked. So the first one is in tier 1, the second one in tier 2, the third one in tier 3. And you will notice that the fortification is, of course, a little cheaper than getting the normal ones with weapons, because they increase the durability and income, but add no weapons. So you see the costs go from 75 and 50, 150 and 125 and 50. So this is how you get requisition. Of course, your HQ also generates +20. Power is a totally different beast. Power you get from one siege generator. It's only one generator you can build, providing you with +10, but it's similar to the listening post that you can fortify. The cost increases only slightly in power. The first one is 150, 150, 10, 20, and so on and so forth, and each fortification gives you +10 from your generator. If you get them all, you get +60 from this generator. Here are also your power global power upgrades. There's a benefit and a downside from having everything in one generator. It's a little vulnerable, of course, if you have your power income all in one place, but you can also tuck it in the back of your base. And the big upside is that you do not need to use any building time from your builders to build more generators. You can just fortify it and have it. Downside is you do not get the power gift you would normally get from building a generator. The 50 power you does not, but again you save up building time from your builders, and you only have 3, and they are relatively slow on their feet and stuff like that. So you can argue what is better and what not. You also get power from your slag deposits. Note that the thermoplasma generator A is relatively cheap. Quickly looking at it. Only 150. Normally it's about double that, and that's because you only get 20 in the beginning. But you then can also fortify it similar to your listening posts, to your normal generator, to get you in the end plus 70 power. So you start a little low, need to invest more, and then can get out a hell of a lot more power from your thermoplasma generator. So power, if you have one of these lactobacillus, it is abundance. If you do not have, it's more or less standard-ish. That's the resources. Your unit caps are also pretty standard. You start with 10-0, I mean squad and vehicle cap. You get your squad and vehicle caps increased by researches in your HQ. There's 2 infantry caps, squad caps, and 4 vehicle cap increases. You also get some vehicle cap from your heavy armor fortification. So that's the caps done. And yeah, so we can now start with the buildings. And before I go into detail with the buildings, you notice that you have these fortification or fortify add-ons for your listening posts and generators, but basically every building you can build, like your HQ, armory, Hand of Dawn, which is your infantry building, everything has these fortify abilities. And apart from the listing posts and the generators, which I have explained already, which increase your income, but also your HP, for the different buildings, it is mainly HP. It is 10% HP, I think. Yeah, 10% HP each, and most buildings have 6 times these. Some have not, because I think the maximum amount of add-ons you can have is 6 on a building. That's basically why I think. And the cost is for the buildings relatively cheap. You notice that for the generators and for the listing posts, it has something to do with the economy. That's why it's a little more expensive. And this time the fortifications for the buildings are relatively cheap. They get more pricey to move on. It's like 15-15, 30-30, 45. So it's 15 more after each, and yeah, getting really expensive in the end, but in general can make your buildings more tanky. The most useful it is actually on the heavy bolter turrets, because they're relatively expensive, and giving them a little more HP by just fortifying once or twice can make a big difference, especially as your turrets have quite a long range and are very decent overall. So this is your fortification. I have a little overview here where you see the exact number of fortifications you can do for each building with the prices, and for the economy buildings also the economy gains you get from it. So there have your little overview if you are wondering. Yeah, this is also all these tables and stuff, spreadsheets that I have also in my Google Drive, a link in the description for you if you want to look at it in more detail, or yeah, stuff like that. So this is like the overarching concept of fortify or fortification. With this out of the way, we can now actually jump into the actual buildings. Your first building, of course, is your siege control, your HQ. Builds builders, capping units, squad cap increases, some commanders here as well. And very special for the Imperial Fist, you also have 4 vehicles here that you can build here. Normally, you cannot build vehicles from your HQ, but Imperial Fists have a lot of vehicles. You will notice that later on. Yeah, you can get your tier 2, which is research, and your tier 3 is an add-on from here as well. Your first production building is the Hand of Dawn, basically your infantry building, which is a very nice model if you ask me. They can get, what was to say, you can get multitude of infantry here. Basically, I think all infantry you can build here. Maybe there's one that you cannot build here. And you can also research melter bombs and frag grenades over here. You can deep strike later on. There was something going on. Hopefully, yeah, I got a little hiccup here. So yeah, if it wasn't recorded, you can build all the infantry over here. Your tier 2 production building for vehicles is over here. The heavy armor fortification. You have some artillery, some dreadnought or 2, and then you have also your tier 2 and tier 1 Titan equivalents over here, hidden behind a research. Your commander building is the orbital elevator over here. Yeah, grants you apothecaries and different commanders, a commander dreadnought as well, different researches for your commander, and yeah, your chapter master here as well. Is it chapter master? No, it's Primarch. Sorry for the name stuff. And then you have orbital relay, which is basically your orbital relay. You can also build a terminal variants over here, but also some more commander like the Hospitaller and the Brenner Bearer, which is only built from here. And yeah, Your research building is the armory over here. I have mostly researched the stuff you can have over here. There's basically everything except for the smoke launchers and stuff like that and the grenades. And you have a tier 4 research for your infantry, which is very interesting, which you normally do not have. So we will see in the tech tree later on. This one does. Yeah, it ignores cover, for example. Further increases the effectiveness of the bolters. Yeah, so Imperial Fist, I will tell you later, is basically more about the bolters and basic weaponry than other factions are. There's one special building, you might have noticed it over here, Stay Puffed. This is a building you can enable with a Victorian edition, basically a Easter egg building. It's the from Fruggles, who has done a lot of the Imperial Fist stuff in the past. Icon of Unwavering Faith.
Well, there's something you don't see every day.
Exactly. And it basically has only one research, which gives your Alexandre, one of the heroes, a lot of different war gear at once, and does basically nothing apart from that, but looking really nice and imposing to the enemy. Economy buildings I have talked already. Let's talk about defensive buildings, and there are plenty. First of all, your listing post, so defensive listing post. The first add-on you can get in tier 1 is actually a twin-linked glass cannon. So you have relatively long range, you see it here, big damage listing posts against buildings. Not so much against infantry, but very good against buildings and vehicles. So you are, let's say, early vehicle rush against Imperial Fists is not a good idea for numerous reasons, but this is one of them. Also builds, of course, your skull probe. And the second add-on is a plasma cannon. The range is roughly the same. Yeah, roughly the same, but more anti-infantry focus. So you first get your anti-vehicle add-on and then your anti-infantry add-on. This is something you might see later on again. Then, of course, you have turrets. I told you already that you can fortify them. And yeah, they start off with twin-linked heavy bolters and can get an autocannon. The autocannon, I think, has a slightly higher range. Yes, but the bolter itself is already pretty high range in damage, so the turrets are pretty nice for Imperial Fists, as you would, think. Then you have minefields, say your standard minefields, and these are interesting. Your Aegis defense wall, vertical and horizontal. These act as basically a blocker, a movement blocker, but also, if I get here some basic infantry, please. They give you a defensive bonus. It looks like a cover bonus. It is not technically a cover bonus, but it gives you some defensive bonus when you're nearby. You see here, if you're like next to them, you get these defensive bonuses from standing around. So these can also act like pseudo cover for you. And yeah, lastly, you have the Hammerfall bunker turret, a tier 3 long-ranged artillery kind of turret. Only 1 per HQ, I think it's limited, and a total amount of 3. Can also be fortified to be more tanky, and can swap the missiles to super missiles. Whatever does it. Only super crack missiles on can target enemy aircraft. Super frag missile only targets ground. So it's basically super missile swap. Off is missile LD against enemy infantry, and if it's on, it's crack missiles against aircraft and stuff like that. So you can toggle what weapon you need. Basically, yeah, now it's against infantry, then it's against vehicles. So there you go. A little toggle over here. Did I forgot something? One thing I didn't told you is that there's one more building, which is your TFC beacon, Thunderfire cannon. Your Thunderfire cannons you cannot build normally. You build basically a TFC beacon, and it must survive. And if the enemy kills it, or you kill it your own before there's a little timer going, nothing will happen. But if it stays alive for a few seconds, it will collapse by itself, and then a TFC will basically deep strike from space, and there you have a in the field Thunderfire cannon, which is pretty nice indeed. Anything from the buildings I forgot? I hope I did not. So we can now jump over to the units. And before I go into details on the units, there's also a concept for the units here, and that's called Stubborness. Basically all commanders and infantry have this trait which is called fanatically stubborn. It says they are difficult to break, and even broken preface do not retreat but fight harder until the last man. So this is the text description, what it actually does is that normally if your morale is broken, your accuracy is reduced to 10%, so you basically do not deal any damage, cannot hit your enemy basically, and you move faster, so you can actually retreat and reform, gather morale again, and then fight again. For the Imperial Fists, it's the other way around. If the morale is broken, you get slower, but you fight harder, so you do not get the movement, the accuracy penalty. Your accuracy stays the same, and you have a little increased damage output. So if you break the Imperial Fists, it's actually beneficial for them, other than that they cannot move out of the way as quickly. So the slow is real, so if you want to disengage and get morale broken, you rather stay there and try to fight on to the last man, which is the Imperial Fist kind of way, it seems, in the lore. So yeah, retreating is not a good option for them if the morale is broken. No, for normal they are more or less okay to retreat whenever they need, but yeah, if the morale is broken, as I said, you need to consider staying here. So this is the concept of stubbornness. I do not mention it apart from the stuff units that do not have it, which is only 1 or 2 units. So there you go. Other than that, all commanders and infantry have this trait. Okay, starting off with the builder unit, and you see here it is already called Techmarine Terminator, but it does not start off as a Terminator. It starts off as a standard Techmarine in tier 1, 2 and 3, and the tier 4 research also grants the Techmarine a Terminator armor, basically increasing its HP and giving him, I don't know if it gets more weaponry, but I think it enables more weaponry if you get an armory for them, and you can also benefit, he also benefits from the plasma pistol research, for example. And yeah, look, once he's a Techmarine, he looks really amazing, I have to say. He can build, he can repair at a higher rate than normal builders would do, 20% more. You can only have 3 of them, built really slow, and costs you an arm and a leg. It costs you 125 requisition to get one. So yeah, make sure you use them wisely and do not lose them as I would do. They can later get also teleport if once they are the Terminators and you have researched the personal teleporters, they can also teleport. They can use frag grenades, which is for Imperial Fists actually locked behind tier 2. And they can use this bolster defense. Bolster defense of the building. Building temporarily takes no damage. This needs an orbital relay, so it's a tier 3 thing to use. So they stay relevant throughout the game. Very good in the early game because they're really stubborn. Haha, pardon the pun, because they have commander armor and everything. There's an array of sub-commanders, I call them here. That's because I have them over here. There's your more or less skull probe, which I like, has a little shield. Can be infiltrated, detect stuff, and also sabotage, which is basically a stun against vehicles and buildings. Yeah, structure and buildings. In tier 2 you have access to your apothecary, which is more or less a standard apothecary. Healing stuff around him can be attached to squads of relatively good combatant itself. Then you have these Legion Consul officers, which are actually built from the chaplain. I will tell you later. Limit 1 to each. They are, yeah, the sniper and the shotgun dude basically, and they have one special ability, which is the execute. Can we quickly get Space Marine over here and show you? Execute works different than normally. Normally execute restores morale and does increase damage. On Imperial Fist, please do not shoot. It works differently. If you break them, they actually break. It's you see, it's only visually. It does not break them actually, but it's visually showing that they're kind of broken and getting the attack bonuses from it. So they quote unquote break, but they do not. So it's more or less works the same, but looks a little different. And depending on the squad, the execute is relatively expensive. So normally you would not uses the combatant. The guys on themselves are pretty nice, especially the sniper can be very useful in certain engagement and stuff. So yeah, the other 2 units you have, they are enabled in the orbital relay in tier 3. It's the Sister Hospitaler, which is basically similar to the apothecary, but has a higher area in which it heals, I think. less sturdy combat and upper, but her healing skills are superior. So she heals better, but is not as sturdy. And note that she's one of them that is not stubborn because she's not an actual Imperial Fist. And lastly, we have the banner bearer here over here, which is pretty nice. Inspires nearby Marines to fight harder, increasing their overall damage. So having a banner bearer in your army when you have them enabled is always a good idea, because it boosts your combat capabilities. Jumping over to your actual commanders, we will need to switch over a bit. We have your siege captain, which is basically your force commander equivalent. Is pretty good combatant on his own. Can use later on battle cry, which I haven't researched actually, sorry about that. And can use hunter killer missile also. Give me a second. Has the good old damage increasing aura with one of the researches, which is also your force commander thing. Can use a hunter killer missile if you have to orbital relay, and if you can see here, he can be exchanged with the Primaris captain if you have the Primaris research done and an orbital relay, I think. And then you will exchange him with Tor Garadon over here. There's one extra trait he has, and that is if he is attached to a squad, he increases the capping capabilities of the squad by quite a bit. So normally you do not want to attach commanders while you're capping, because they could do different things like attacking the enemy, defend the squad, stuff like that. But for the Imperial Fists, you actually want to have the siege captain at the squad that caps, because it gets a lot faster. Your different commanders are then in tier 2 your librarian. The librarian is a little different, that it has the first ability is different. It has weaken resolve and shield of dawn. Okay, weaken resolve is basically reducing the enemy morale and stuff like that. Single target. Shield of dawn. Okay, that's different. All infantry near the continue to defend but will not fall. But this is basically the same as the other Shield of Faith or whatever it's called from the standard librarian, but differently called. And then you have the Imperial Fists, which is basically a glorified, you see here, does deal a whole lot of damage and blinds enemies. So it is a mixture of the blinding ability of the Canoness, but also the Emperor's Fists, or what it's called, Emperor's Wrath, also from the Sisters of Battle. So it's not your standard banish, but a little more potent, has a little longer cooldown, I think. Then you have the chaplain, doing chaplain things like increasing regeneration rate, having also demoralizing shot, but also, as I said, can produce these two officers over here, which makes him extra useful. And then you have Alexandro del Carabus, sorry about the name, which is overall a pretty good combatant. Has not all the wall gear you see here enabled. He has the rally ability, which restores the morale of him and the squad he's attached to. But having like this big sword, the special melter, I think it's called, and the jump pack over here is enabled by the special research from the thing over here, from the icon of the unwavering faith. Yeah, and afterwards you see here Tor Garadon, which is your tier 3 Primaris commander exchange. Basically has a big plasma storm thingy over here, a big thunder hammer, and also a graviton gun on the shoulder, because why not? Can also use the battle cry, but does not have the aura that you get from the siege captain, the damage increasing aura, I think. And it also does not increase the capping capabilities of the squad. So while he is in general stats and usability superior, he has some quote-unquote downsides. And he also can produce one squad, which is the... This is a mistake. He cannot produce the heavy assault intercessor squad. He can produce the... what is it called? Okay, they have a name problem over here. This is the Sons of Dawn, actually. This is not a heavy assault intercessor. That's a little bug. This will be fixed whenever there's a new version. So yeah, there you go. And last but not least, you have Rogel Dawn himself. Sadly, does not have a mustache for me this time. He's big combatant overall. He's also stubborn, of course. Has a teleporter, which you, I think, do not need to research. He already has this. Can detect stealth units, and has a big sword. I think he gets a different sword if you fight Black Templars, but don't quote me on that. Doesn't it state that also? Yeah, no, if Black Templars are present, he's given a venerable black sword in honor of the fallen Sigismund. Has a little sidekick over here, this Sigismund skull. There's some lore about it. I think it's Sigismund, as far as I know, is a big old Black Templar dude, or was. There you go. Has different array of abilities. Can teleport, can use the you will stand your ground. Affects all infantry and commanders, including Dawn. Maximum armor. Weapon abilities do minimum damage. I think this is a channeling ability, so I will use it later. Frag missile barrage, basically, yeah. Frag missiles, anti-infantry missile barrage. Then you have a crack missile barrage, which is basically anti-infantry and stuff, anti-vehicle. And then you have the Wraith of the Phalanx, Rogul Dawn, Higher Protocol. Basically, I think this is a, yeah, you need to click it on something. Does tremendous damage against structures, I think. Phalanx Orbital Strike, Cost, Orbital Strike is proportional to the devastating prowess. I think it doesn't, you need to use it on enemy buildings and or units. Can you use it on units as well? Yes, but you need to target, have a target for it. And lastly, we'll use this. You will stand your ground. Yeah, I think you cannot move him. Can you move your? Okay, you can actually move him. I thought you cannot move him, but yeah, introduces the damage you take from everything basically for him and all infantry around. So very, very useful indeed. I mean, it's a Primarch after all, you know. Okay, this is your commanders out of the way. Let's quickly jump over to your infantry. And your tier 1 infantry is in front of here. The first one is your Breacher Siege Marine Squad. It's basically your capping unit, very slow on their feet. They make up for it with sturdiness, and of course they can cap a lot faster than your normal infantry. So they take a little longer to get to the point, but once they are there, you can cap really fast. You can also combine them with the boost of the Siege Captain, which allows you to get critical locations and relics in the same time as other factions get your strategic point, or even faster. So you can cap really fast, but they are relatively slow on their feet. They have a passive ability, which is similar to the ability of these Aegis walls over here, giving all infantry, including themselves, a defensive bonus around them, are relatively sturdy. And in previous versions they had infantry heavy high armor, basically Terminator armor, which was a little problematic. So this got changed. So they have the quote-unquote normal heavy infantry armor, medium, but the tier 4 research, I think, is what gives them back the Terminator armor. So they, in the later tiers, they are a lot more sturdy. They get a sergeant with has a special shield, you can see here, it looks fancy, and he gets Cinderella ability. They also have this bolter drill, which basically exchanges their rounds in their bolters, which makes them armor piercing, so they are good against buildings. Yeah, it says it rounds bolters cause exceptional damage to buildings. Otherwise the damage boost is minor, so it's mainly you click and then you shoot, get more damage on buildings, and it says that they explode, so they may have also a small AoE, but this can also be just visually. So if you know more about it, please tell me. Then the backbone of every Space Marine chapter is of course the Space Marine Squad, the tactical Space Marines. They here are a little different. You see that they get different weapons and stuff. We will see. We'll talk about it quickly. The sergeant you can gets a rally ability. You have a flamer in tier 1, a plasma gun in tier 2. And a heavy bolter only in tier 3. So the heavy bolter for them is relatively late in the tier. So yeah, you need to take shorter range weapons for them early on. Note that you can get melter bombs with them, and these melter bombs you can get in tier 1. They are pretty expensive to get, but yeah, if you have like a lot of Space Marines and playing a heavy tier 1 and the enemy is then tier 2 and getting some vehicles out, you can get or have the upgrade already and counter vehicles, but also makes you excellent at base bashing potential. Another base bashing potential is the tank hunters over here. To enable that, we will quickly need to rebuild our siege captain here, because he needs to be on the field for it to work. This is similar to them that you get a weapon exchange, gives all your units in your squad a missile launcher. It costs you a 990 power to use, and it only allows you to, I think if you stand and shoot for the full duration, it's like 3, maximum 4 volleys of rockets and then you have your basic weaponry and it has a cooldown and stuff. So this also allows you to quickly kill vehicles that pop up, but also allows you to base bash, kill generators, listing posts very effectively, but will delay your attack, of course, because it costs a hell of a lot of power to use. The last tier 1 infantry unit you have is your assault marines, and you will see one thing that you would normally like on assault marines, and that would be a jump pack. These assault marines cannot jump. They are quick on their feet, however. So they are just quick melee orientated infantry, relatively high HP. With their sergeant they get rally ability and get frag grenades. The frag grenades, however, for Imperial Fists are tier 2. So you get anti-vehicle stuff but in tier 1, but not so much anti-infantry stuff. They have an assortment of different weaponries, like the power weapons, advanced power weapons, power fists against vehicles and buildings. This is more against infantry. Lightning claws against commanders and demons, and the thunder hammer for single target big stuff, because I think it can stunning enemies. Yeah, so they can stun lock single entities pretty well, like big commanders, big vehicles, big demons, stuff like that. You want to bring out the thunder hammers. Okay, this is your tier 1 infantry. In tier 2 you only get one more infantry out, and this is your devastators. The devastators start off without a heavy weapon. That's why they are basically space marine costs to reinforce. They can get heavy bolters, which the production is pretty fast, so you can get heavy bolters with them, but also multi-melters. I think this is your tier 2 stuff. Later on in tier 3 and on you get plasma cannons and las cannons for anti-infantry and anti-vehicle capabilities. Can have frag grenades and melter bombs, so they are versatile in that regard. And the sergeant, of course, gives them a rally ability. I think it's only allowed to get 2 or 3 devastators. And that's basically already your tier 2 infantry. And then we all have all this stuff around here is tier 3. First of all, you have the destroyer squad, which is a very special kind of devastator squad, but also not. It is not a devastator. It has different weaponry. It has the sergeant, of course, with the rally ability, and also have these vortex grenades. We kind of know from the Space Marine Honor Guard. Comes from the sergeant, I think. Without a sergeant, you cannot do this. Boosting morale, rally ability, doesn't state here, but I think it's from the commander. And then you have 4 very special weapons. It's not a normal grenade rocket launcher, it's a red launcher, which basically, I think, radioactive rocket launcher. Does also friendly fire, so be careful. Then you have a cryo gun, which basically slows units and increases damage they take. You know that from different stuff as well. Phosphex launcher, which is basically a flamey grenade launcher. I think this also does friendly fire, so you need to be very careful. And then you have the graviton guns, which is very good against aircraft, and also basically the idea from the graviton gun is that they deal more damage on higher armor targets, basically on bigger targets. Might also have a little AoE and can stun, but don't quote me on that. So your tier 3 onward infantry, which you have enabled right away in tier 3, are your centurions, like the big old lads over here, like Space Marines in big armor over here. They have 2 centurions variants. You have the devastator centurions over here, which is basically your ranged centurions variant. Get a commander for rallying, can teleport if you have research personnel teleporters, and can get also a graviton gun, but also a las cannon. Only 5 models, so yeah, relatively low model count. And then you have the assault centurions over here, which is basically assault, and they have also grenade launchers, if I'm not mistaken. There you go. So they can also hold their own in range in terms of disruption, not so much for damage, I think. Get a sergeant for getting rally, and also can teleport once you have researched it. They are available right away in tier 3, but if you build an orbital elevator, or orbital relay, I think it's called, not an elevator, orbital relay, you can get terminators, but you can only get like a ranged variant of these. So you can either get siege terminators or devastator centurions, or assault terminators or assault centurions. So the general idea is, I think, the centurions are more sturdy and deal a little less damage, and the terminators are not as sturdy because they don't have this big armor, but deal more damage. The siege terminators over here, you get a special siege terminator veteran, which has this cyclone missile launcher and stuff enabled, so really Nice guy, can also rally, and you can teleport with the personal teleporters. The weapons you have enabled is an assault cannon and a plasma cannon. Anti-infantry and anti-AoE infantry, kinda. Your assault siege terminator squad also get a sergeant. Sergeant this time, I think. Who is the sergeant? Who leads the squad over here? Doesn't tell me. But he gets also rally ability for them. Is this guy? Veteran over here has a power sword, you can see it. And can teleport, of course. The weapons you can have is dual chain fists and lightning claws. Dual chain fists are good against infantry, and dual lightning claws are good against commanders and demons. Normally you start off with the storm shields and thunder hammers for stunning capabilities. And last but not least, it is not the heavy assault intercessors, which is a little throwback for something we will see later in this guide. It's the Sons of Dawn, which are melee specialist primaris, have these big hammers, excel in melee and are exceptional durable. You can see it here. Stubborn as well, I think. Yes, can rally with their sergeant and can use frag grenades. So generally they are used to sponge up damage and charge into the enemy lines. Do not have any ranged capabilities, so that's the downside for them. Oof, that's all the infantry out of the way. Now we go over to the vehicles. So the vehicles you can see here are plenty. There's one tier 1 vehicle, which I have told you already is the Thunderfire Cannon. The Thunderfire Cannon you can build with the TFC beacon, and then it can use these grenade launcher kind of disruption kind of strikes. It's more of a support than in itself army, so you need some front line for it to then disrupt the enemy backline. And that's all tier 1 vehicles. In tier 2 you get access to this Rapier Laser Destroyer, which you can build from your HQ. The specialty about Rapier Laser Destroyer is that you do not need a vehicle building for it. You need tier 2 and a armory, I think, then you can build it. But also it takes up vehicle pops, so you need to get a vehicle cap increase to get them. The Thunderfire Cannons are limited to 3, and these are Laser Destroyers limited to 2. Is very good against vehicles and aircraft, of course. It states infantry, but I think it's mainly your anti-armor kind of thingy. In tier 2, you get access to your Razorback Mark 1, which is basically a very special Razorback. You have the Storm Bolter over here, but the main weaponry is the twin glass cannon and the plasma cannons on the side. The long range is the last cannon, and the low range is the plasma gun. So if you want to get maximum damage out of it, you want to move it a little closer. But in general, it is good that it can basically deal with everything. But in long range, it's better against buildings and vehicles. Pretty good against killing enemy buildings from afar. You also have access to your first Siege Dreadnought, or your first Dreadnought variant, which is the Siege Dreadnought over here. Has an Inferno Cannon, and I think this is a Flamer as well, so very flamey. Can use melee combat as well, and has this seismic impact, basically boom, doing some AoE and knockback around it. Otherwise, more or less standard Dreadnought. But yeah, low range, more melee orientated, you could say. Then we have 2 more special vehicles over here. The Saber Tank Hunter is something you need to get all 4 vehicle cap researches, then you can build it from your HQ. In tier 2 already. Has a Hunter Killer Missile, which I think requires you to be on a later tier. Does damage against structures and vehicles with a long range. Really long range, you can see it here. And can later on, very late, I think it's tier 4 and stuff, you can also exchange this cannon over here with a Volkite Sentinel cannon. I will leave this on so we can see later on. And then you have a Rhino Damocles over here, which has, apart from the Stone Bolter, nothing really to show in terms of combat capabilities. Lower HP than your Razorback and stuff like that. Can use a long range scanner, it can use right away. But can also use smoke launchers if you have researched it. The Rhino actually does not use smoke launchers, interesting. But he does, and he can use an Earthshaker bombardment, which is requires a orbital relay. So, and he becomes your orbital or Earthshaker bombardment thingy you can use later on. Takes up some resources, of course. Can you quickly see what it does? Yeah, big bombardment over here. Wow, I liked it. Here you see now the bulk kite weapon in front, really nice. Yeah, this is... and of course you have a Rhino as well. The Rhino is built from your HQ, Razorback from your vehicle production building. Rhino, doing Rhino things, having a little Storm Bolter dude on top, can transport stuff and use smoke launchers, but he can also use this Rhino Charge Strike, which is for some reason already used here. It's like the other Charge Strike abilities, a little buggy in usage that it gets stopped by every little nook and cranny you can do on the field. Okay, he tries to use this automatically because there is some enemy around it. So there's something going on here that I do not understand with this guy. Okay, now going to tier 3, and tier 3 is mainly like on this side over here. You get a Predator Executioner over here. Basically a plasma cannon beast of a Predator, only good against infantry and heavy infantry, not useful against vehicles. You get also access to a Vindicator, which can use smoke launchers and is your short-ranged artillery. Big boom, not big range, has also, as you see, a Storm Bolter and a Storm Bolter guy on top. Then you have in tier 3 2 Dreadnoughts. The Ironclad Dreadnought is dropped and built in your relay beacon, orbital relay. Can use smoke launchers, but has also 2 Hunter Killer missiles, which do not share a cooldown, so you can actually use 2, which is basically in the model these 2 guys. And he can exchange, I think it's an exchange Hurricane Bolter, because for now he has a Storm Bolter on the bottom and nothing on this side. So I think he exchanges 1 arm for a big old Hurricane Bolter, so doing more ranged damage then and using anti-infantry stuff. Yeah, exchanging basically one side. And then you have the Venerable Dreadnought. Venerable Dreadnought and Lexandro are linked. You cannot have, you can only have either Lexandro or the Venerable Dreadnought. Basically, you first need to build Lexandro, and if it dies, you then can build a Dreadnought, which is kind of saying that Lexandro is in the Dreadnought. And in terms of gameplay, if the Dreadnought dies, you can build Lexandro again, and vice versa. So I only can having one of the field, also requiring a relic, I think. Big old Venerable Dreadnought, kind of getting assault cannons, less cannons, and plasma cannons. Can use a seismic impact similar to what they do over here, and can use also smoke launchers. So very versatile in that. What is going on here? They sometimes fight them if I switch players, so that's kind of annoying. So this is your tier 3 stuff out of the way, and now we come to your tier 4 stuff. And there's one special thing already, the Legion Basilisk over here, which was a survival exclusive in the previous version, is now enabled by default. And we miss one vehicle over here, which is sadly unable to be built because there's a little bug, which is your Scorpio Whirlwind, a tier 4 Whirlwind, very special, dealing very well damage, and is limited to 1, I think. So we sadly see it here. Whenever there's a next version, this will be fixed, of course. Then you have 2 Land Raider variants. One is requiring you to have a critical location, a relic, which is your Land Raider Achilles Alpha, which has already the Wall Kite enabled. You can build here the Wall Kite. I do not remember what it has before, but yeah, you can get Wall Kite weapon. You can use the Machine Spirit, which reduces damage it takes. And can also use smoke launchers. It has this big Gatling gun and a multi-melter dude on the top, it looks like. Yeah. Then you can have also a Land Raider Prometheus, which is not a relic unit per se. It's more of a commander vehicle requiring a critical location. Has not the big weaponry over here, has some bolters on the side, and that's basically it. But can use a long-range scanner as well and have smoke launchers. Can transport, of course, but it's more of a support kind of role, compared to this Achilles Alpha, which is more offensive based. I think it can also transport, but because it now has this Thunderfire cannon. Quickly checking if it could transport stuff. It can be. The transport stuff is not shown because there's the attack round. This is an UI thing you cannot fix in Dawn of War. Okay, this is the Land Raider Achilles Alpha is your one relic you can build, and the other relic you can build is the Cestus Assault Ram, which is it looks like a floater, but it's actually a flying unit, so it can fly over terrain over here. You can see here. Not really sure what the weaponry does on it, but it can land and transport stuff. So it's more of a utility kind of thing. Can land, and you can load in stuff, and then it can take off again. There you go. Yeah, and while it's landed, it's a vehicle. When it's airborne, it's an aircraft. So this is your other relic unit. Has quite a lot of HP. More HP than a Land Raider, actually. That's really remarkable. Then you have an assortment of tier 1 Titans, 2 which it is. It's one a Falchion, which is like these big old tanks over here. Tier 1 Titan equivalents. You see it in the HP and also in the damage. Has these big fell blades and also a... Is it a demolisher cannon, like this big artillery cannon? Less cannons at the side and some bolters, so a hell of a lot of weapons. I kind of compare it to Baneblade. I know that it is not a Baneblade, but it feels like with all the different weaponry. Can use Machine Spirit and Smoke Launchers. The other tier 1 Titan you can build, so you can only have one of course, is the Fell Blade. Has a different main weapon, but is otherwise more or less the same. Has also this like melter gun guy on top. And can use a Hunter Killer Missile, which the Falcon cannot use. Can use Machine Spirit and Smoke Launchers as well. And then have one unit I really like over here with the big old transport, Mastodon, which is independent from the tier 1 Titan units over here, but costs you a hell of a lot more to build. Can use Melter Barrage, Hunter Killer Missiles and Vortex Shield. I think, yeah, it basically increases, cannot be maintained for long, extra damage and punishment. Melter Barrage looks, you need it to use on something. Target enemy vehicle or building, yeah, does some damage against enemy vehicles and buildings. And of course the Hunter Killer Missile we all know and love already what it does. Can transport stuff, is really versatile and looks really awesome if you ask me. And last but not least we have the tier 2 Titan equivalent, which is the Glaive. Has a little lower HP than the other ones, but has this big old Volkite weapon on top. Flamer on the side, less cannon, Storm Bolter, Demolisher Cannon, all the good stuff. Can use Machine Spirit, Hunter Killer Missiles and Smoke Launchers. So I'm really a big fan of this big old tier 1 Titan tanks. They are really high on the vehicle cap though, and but yeah, that's for a good reason to have like these big units on the field. Does help you a lot. Oh, did I do something wrong? The Glaive is the tier 2 Titan equivalent, right? Oh, I mixed it up. Sorry guys, the Glaive is the tier 1 Titan, similar to the Fellblade, and then the Falchion, of course, is the tier 1 Titan. It has more HP and more damage. So you see here, you have 135 HP, and this has 2k more HP. So sorry for this mistake. The Glaive and the Fellblade are the tier 1 Titan equivalent, and the Falchion, of course, is the tier 2 Titan. Oh, okay. This is all the units done, buildings and units. But as you may read the changelog for this version or not, there's a special victory recognition you can tick, which is called Crimson Fists, and this exchanges some vehicles and some units and also research, and it makes it more Crimson Fists like. So this will be our next stop in the guide. And here we see the exchangement unit for the Crimson Fists on one screen. How do I start? I start probably with the commander, Petro Cantor, which is requires tier 4 and relic. He more or less exchanges Tor Gardradon. So you can now get your siege captain and him on the same time. So this is the upside for him. Downside is that Alexandro is not playable for Crimson Fists at all. He can use Battlecry and Iron Halo, which reduces all damage inflicted to him, and also the Oath of Rin. Temporary bonus to weapon accuracy. So basically a guide kind of thingy. Can attach to a squad and has a regeneration aura around him. So very useful. Then you have a special Primaris unit. It is not the Sons of Dawn. It is the Crimson Fist Veteran Intercessors over here. So ranged dudes basically with these ranged bolter guns. Can get an Apothecary squad leader, which is nice, increasing the regeneration of course. And also allows them to rally. So there you go. And they also have really nice head sometimes. And can use phosphor grenades, basically some flaming grenades. There you go. Can also get the Vengeance grenade launcher, which is big grenade launchers will explode for a short duration after being fired. And a Volkite caliber. So yeah, really good in their weapon loadout. You remember the Sons of Dawn were basically melee orientated. These are ranged orientated. The special dreadnought that normally is meant to be Lexandro is exchanged by this venerable Hellfire dreadnought. You see it's also ranged based, has a big old assault cannon on the side and missile launchers on the other side. Can exchange, I think, one of these with a plasma cannon, a twinning glass cannon or a heavy flamer. Also can use smoke launchers once researched. Quickly researching it, give me a second. Poof. I can use them. There are 2 more units. The Stormhawk Interceptor is meant to be the exchange unit for the Whirlwind Scorpio, which is, because there's a little bug, not available. Can use these las cannon stuff on this front. Has also some assault cannons at the side. And one special thing, if you fight orcs, it actually gets an autocannon, I think, instead of a las cannon on the top. Yeah, it exchanged the left cannon for the dreadnought. Whoops, the last unit you exchange is the Land Raider Achilles, which is now Rin's Might over here. Has big las cannons on the side, storm bolters at the top. More storm bolter. I think there's a guy missing sitting on it. Little bug is this will be fixed shortly as well. Can transport stuff and has a special machine spirit ability. It is not like you choose damage you take, but damage increased. So artificial intelligence, its firepower increases. So basically, while you use it, you deal more damage, but you see you cannot move. You basically become you lose control. Basically, you let the AI, I think is the law, take over, and it will deal more damage and stuff, but you lose control over it for the duration. So there you go. And there's also one last research exchange. We have seen the tier 4 research for the Imperial Fist doing like your infantry bolters do more damage, but here it's the Devastator doctrine, which increases the Devastator squad size and loadout. Boom, there you go. Now we have 2 more and 2 more loadouts, or 4 even. I think it was 6 before. Okay, this is, you can now have more weapons than you have squad members, so this is also a little thingy with them. I mean, it's the first iteration for them. They will get the fixes and adjustments, and they are also meant to be PvP viable, this option. Currently they are not tested as much in the PvP situation, especially as they are also very late here, but there will be tests, and in the next version this will be a viable option to get basically decide if I want to play more or less your vanilla, I call it vanilla, your normal Imperial Fist, or you want to have the little sub-factions, the Crimson Fists in PvP. This is the general idea of them. There needs to be some more tests, and you saw some small bug fixes, and then there are yeah, this is a prototype, basically having like this sub-faction with a victory condition. If this works out, there may or may not be other sub-factions. We will see. We will see or see not in the future. Yeah, this is all the Crimson and Imperial Fist units. There are no special survival exclusive units or whatever, so we are now jumping over to the Techtrees. And here we are in the Techtree document. One small note before we go into the details over here is that I have everything that is Crimson Fist related marked in red over here, like the special commander in your HQ, the exchangement units and stuff. You see that the Scorpio normally exchanged by the Stormhawk and stuff like that. That's all in red. Also the one research that is exchanged over here. Stuff that is not enabled, of course. I have this little X marker over here. But yeah, quickly talking through the Techtrees, I do not want to go through every single thingy that is here, but more about the general premise. You see that you have your different tier 1 stuff enabled. In that you have a Thunderfire cannon in tier 1, which not a lot of factions have. Your Assault Marines do not jump, but you have Melters enabled in tier 1, which is really nice to be anti-vehicle very early on. And yeah, your researches, plasma pistols and stuff like that you can also get in tier 1, which is what is special that your... No, that's not so special. I do not want to And your last cannon from your listing post is also in tier 1. Tier 2 then enables you, as I said, a whole lot of different vehicles, the Rhinos, the Damocles, which does not serve a big purpose in tier 1. It gets better later on. The Saber over here, but also here you see it. The is there a mistake? No, it's not. Also the Razorback and the Dreadnought. So there's a lot of different vehicles in tier 2, not a lot of different infantry. So you can have a lot of different vehicles, but also a lot of commanders. You have Alexandro, you have your siege captain already from tier 1. You can have your apothecary, librarian, and also your chaplain, which makes basically with Alexandro your 4 kings. The chaplain can also build these commander guys from themselves. You can have a little goon squad as well. So that's a tier 2 option you can have. The Devastators is basically the only infantry you can get in tier 2. Tier 3 is a big enabler in terms of infantry, as you have Knights, Centurions, and Terminators, but also Sons of Dawn, if you research it, and the Destroyers. So tier 3 is a lot of infantry you have enabled. Also your special Dreadnought if you have Alexandro killed. And where are the vehicles? Give me a second. There you go. Can also Predator and Whirlwind. So where was tier 2 more about vehicles, tier 3 is more about infantry, I'd say, and tier 4 is then also big enabler again for vehicles, as you can have your artillery vehicles, your 2 Land Raider variants. You can also have Rogel Dawn, of course, or if you do not want to have your Land Raider Achilles, you can also get the Cestus. And then what is also really nice for them is the tier 1 Titan, as you can get a Mastodon and one of these tier 1 Titan equivalents. Tier 2 Titans they have also, so this box is ticked for them as well. There you go. What I was about to say is, yeah, currently the vehicle building is pretty full. So for the tier 2 Titan research, I think you need to build all the fortifications, I think. No, you do not, because the Whirlwind is missing. If the Whirlwind was there, this would be the case. There are some plans to fix this, to fix the full vehicle production building, but yeah, currently you can have access to all without a big issue. And yeah, talking quickly about the researches over here, you see that you have a special research in tier 2, which is this one, which increases the damage of your standard bolters. So if you do not get any special weapons and just mass up marines and stuff like that, you can also do that. And this also enables you the tier 4 research, which we have read through, which increases or basically negates enemy cover and increases the damage again. And then you have also a vehicle research over here, which gives them more HP for basically all your Rhino chassis vehicles, I think it is mainly. Yeah, your defensive buildings I have talked as well. This is the icon of the unwavering face. You see that you cannot build it. You can build it with the victory condition, but it does not benefit you anything, because if you play Crimson Fists, I'm a little too fast. If you play Crimson Fists, you can get it, but it does not give you the research because you cannot have Alexandro. So basically, if you play Crimson Fists, you do not really want to build it at all. Yeah, this is your defensive kind of buildings, which I have told you already. Yeah, now jump over to the units, where we can again see something in the infantry later on. Your builders, I have made 2 of them, because this is your Terminator Tech Marine, which is technically a different entity. It also has a different icon in the code, which is not working currently. I think this will be also something that will be fixed. A Stubborn, of course, you see all the Stubborn markers here for all the units that have it. The Siege Captain I have explained to you all already in game. Alexandro, Apothecary, yeah, I've told you all about them already. What is more interesting is the different weapon availabilities for your Marines and Siege Marines. You can see that you have Flamers already in tier 2. And the only unit that can get a melter is actually your Siege Marines with a combi melter. So they can be your quick anti-vehicle in tier 2, not your Space Marines. So this is something. I mean, you have a lot of anti-vehicles in the melter bombs and the rocket launchers, but yeah, the rocket launchers are only temporary. Assault Marines I have told you already about. Devastators, we have also talked about them. This is tier 3 weaponry, and tier 1 weaponry is this. The destroyers, I think, get more or less all their stuff already. Yes, that's the case, tier 3. And yeah, the vortex grenade is behind the squad leader. Assault intercessors. Yeah, after this. I think this is mainly it for those guys. The Scorpio would be this guy over here. Which is currently sadly not able to get built, but will be fixed. And I think this should be it. Yeah, your survival reinforcements are a Siege Marine, a Space Marine, a Predator, a Basilisk, and another Land Raider Achilles Alpha. So going again over the tiers, you can play very nicely a prolonged tier 1. Why is that? Because you have a lot of anti-vehicle capabilities in tier 1 already, so you do not have to go to tier 2 to have anti-vehicle capabilities. You have melters, you have listening posts with last guns, you have this missile launcher ability. So there's 3 reasons why you do not need to get a fast tier 2 because of that. Also, the passive of the Stubborn makes really nice, makes it a really nice faction to play Space Marine spam with. Also, their kind of economy, how it works, that you get income for your fortifications, which are cheaper than your normally listening post upgrades are. So you can have a little economy edge if you stay a little longer on tier 1 and get all your upgrades and stuff like that. So makes it a very good tier 2 factions. You can also play a timely tier 2 and then get your Razorbacks, and stuff like that. You have a lot of vehicles, as I told you before, like your Rhino, your Saber over here, Laser Destroyer, Razorback. So there's a lot of different vehicles you can field, or as I said, commanders. So there's basically 2 ideas, I think, in tier 2. Either go a lot of vehicles or go a lot of commanders. Mixing it can also work depending on the situation, but yeah, that's kind of it. Tier 3, as I said, more of an enabler in terms of infantry, and tier 4 and tier 1 Titan, big enabler in terms of big game-ending vehicles if you haven't ended the game before. Okay, this now leads to the second to last point, which is the build orders, and you will see there are plenty. And here we are in the build order document. As the Techtree, this document is also able to be seen and downloaded in my Google Drive. Short explanation, everything left and top from this little line over here can be built from your starting money. Everything on the right side can then be built, or is the idea to be built in tier 1 before you then click the tier 2 button, basically. Your standard kind of opener is what I consider standard. It's getting 2 Siege Marines, a Tech Marine, your Hand of Dawn, and a Space Marine. If you have the Hand of Dawn built, you can then build your Siege Captain. So this is your starting money. You notice that I built this genless. There's also the variant where you do not get the Cross Commander, the Siege Captain right away, and get therefore the Generator. This is more economy based. This one here is more combat based. You see also that I have a turret here. Imperial Fists have a really nice turret. You can build it offensively most of the times, I would recommend, but if you're getting pressured, you can also build it defensively. But generally, very good turret, so you see it sometimes sprinkled into these build orders. Then you have the Space Marine spam, one of my favorite ways to play Imperial Fists, is basically also starting genless and then getting also infantry cap increase and getting like 4-5 Space Marines and 2, these are your capping units, and then can later on also support your infantry blob with their defensive aura, and yeah, getting a hell of a lot of Space Marines, and yeah, also later getting a Siege Captain to help them out a bit. But the general idea is to get all the Space Marines in the world. And also the idea behind this, the genless thing, is that you start off with 100 power. And you do not want to use the power normally to get a Siege Captain with this build, but rather to fortify 2 points you have to make it easier to sustain your Space Marine blob and get them out a little earlier. Then you can, of course, play Assault Marines, which requires the Hand of Dawn and Armory, so you can only get 1. They are really fast and can harass and decap. I always kind of recommend that you get the the bionics with them to make them more sturdy. And if you have the armory and the Hand of Dawn, this is also special because of the plasma pistols. They require Hand of Dawn and armory. I didn't notice it in the Techtrees, but it is like that. And always when you have Hand of Dawn and armory, might as well get a plasma pistols, because it's not only your siege captain which getting plasma pistols, it is also your tech marines, and the tech marines can support your fight really well. And as they can also support it really well, that's why I want you to get the third one. Unlike here, you get a third builder as well, to have him support your combat. And if he's on the front lines and fighting with you, you might as well get an offensive turret build if possible. Then you have a siege marine with commander, which basically this is an economy based game where you get your siege marines getting the generator first and then your Hand of Dawn, but you do not build anything from Hand of Dawn. Your Hand of Dawn is basically you unlock your siege captain, which is your front line, and you have these siege marines which can be used mostly in ranged, use their special ability if needed, and the tech marine. And yeah, basically you save up a lot of economy with this to fortify all your points to start then tier 2 with a healthy economy. This can be a little dicey if you get pressured early on, so you might want to get a turret maybe, or get some siege marines, some space marines with it if you're getting pressured too much. Then you can build TFCs, TFC opener. You need, of course, a generator to get the power to get the TFC beacons, but also an armory. So you start off with the TFC beacon, you build a tech marine which is immediately moving on close to the enemy base, where you then build your first few TFC beacons to have the TFC at the enemy side, which you want to also repair. So that's why you want to get another come on, Max, tech marine, to first of all build your squads, your points in your base, but also then move into the front. And you see here that I also recommend to get some more siege marine breachers to sustain your attack in the front, because the TFCs themselves will not be able to sustain for long. You might as well get the upgrades over here for your breachers. The damage output upgrade isn't completely necessary, but I think the bionics are. And as this is a like containment kind of build, you also can build an offensive turret to pressure the enemy points even more. Then you have here the early plasma pistols, which is kind of dicey because you need a hell of a lot of different buildings and only can get two siege marines and a tech marine, so you have no army basically. But the idea is that you get very early plasma pistols for your tech marine. So you have like then 3 tech marines with plasma pistols, which is your kind of combat units. And yeah, into heavy tier 1 is because you already have spent so much resources in these buildings and stuff. You might as well add your siege captain, which also has a plasma pistol then. And yeah, you can, as you have all this already up, then add also space marines if needed, give them some melter bombs, and yeah, play like a whole very long tier 1 with it. I think it leads to it because you have a big upfront investment, so you want to make use of it. Also a turret because you have all the tech marines out as well. And lastly, there's a tier 2 rush, which can be really fast, but also really dicey. So this is very fast tier 2, but you start tier 2 then with very low resources. So you may want to get a few more upgrades first on your listing posts and on your generator over here before you go tier 2, but then you delay the tier 2 and give the enemy more time to punish your greed. So yeah, tier 2 rushes can work, cannot work depending on the situation, and of course enemy faction. Okay, so these are now the build orders, and as usual we will close up the guide with a replay I have for you. This time I have another game that I played. It was against Grindon. We played a few games. He won most games, and if he won the game, I will show you. I will not tell you. You will see yourself in a second. And here we are on Shrine of Excellion, where I played the Imperial Fist against Grindon's Necron. So this is a interesting matchup in it of itself. There are different ways you can play as Imperial Fist, and the thing I do here is the Space Marine spam. So I get a Hand of Dawn, no generator, 2 breachers and a second tech marine. And also no commander. So just sticking to Space Marines. So this is the general idea. The general idea is to get my points mainly with the siege marines and get this point with the Space Marines, and then get with the second Space Marine squad, have a big push over here. This is the general idea. You will see that I quickly start 2 Space Marines. I found out that you want to delay your second Space Marine squad by just a bit to get your 2 points early on up quickly. Here we have a little builder scab that wanted to decap my point, but I was fast enough and also now can use my breaches to scare it away a bit. Second Tech Marine is now out to build a point. You will see that I cancel it because then I would not have enough resources to build this point. Just wait a second or 2 and then get a Space Marine squad. Generally I like to, I mean I could also wait until to get the listing post. I generally like to get more economy rather than get a squad out a second earlier. So that's that. Preacher Space Marines over here saw that he Grindet also was a little cheeky trying to decap, so I'm aware that he can and wants to do this, so I'm looking out in the perimeter. Again, there you see, there he comes again, and there comes the second Space Marine squad out, however, to cover this, so I can build a point now as well, and now the Space Marines can get on the offensive over here. You see that I already have used 1 fortification on this listing post, so I have, for the state of the game, already pretty good income. I will use the second fortify later on, but for now my priority lies in pressuring the opponent. And I see here a listing post being built, so I immediately get my Tech Marine over here, which has a flamer and some bolt guns and stuff like that. So I will get, I think, another unit over here at some point. No, he abandons his course and I immediately resume building. I was upgrading this point. So the last cannon could deal with the turret. I think I will cancel this in a moment. There you see, cancelled it. I have my Space Marines over here. Seeing this point over here, getting my another Space Marines because I cancelled the add-on. I have enough resources. And other than that, I want to be quite a nuisance over here, but with just standing here and being annoying. But now that the Necron Warriors are out, I need to retreat over here. He builds this point. I will upgrade this listening post in a moment. Yeah, to counter it, so I can just ignore it for now. I try to make it a little more painful for him, but not by much. Getting my points up. So you see, I cannot fortify it the second time. I need to build the upgraded listening post. However, here's the third Space Marine squad. This thing is built up. Yeah, it shoots my my Tech Marine, but I will have the relics soon. I do have the relics, and now that he was defending over here, I was going over here, because Necrons are slow. And you see, once this last cannon is out, it will deal really nicely with this turret over here. There you see, high building damage on it, so you cannot really turret rush an Imperial Fist player. Still no generator, you see here. I get now the squad cap increase and can now get more Space Marines. And at some point I start to reinforce them. I have reinforced them already once. Getting this point, trying to get a decap on this, but he is faster than me, and now I need to either stand my ground over here. So I try to get a scab over here, so I either stand my ground over here or I do not. I think I do stand my ground for now, getting now also the breaches over here for the defensive aura, and yeah, trying to reinforce as much as I can. There's my 4th Space Marine squad coming over here, and I have already, you see it, 115 income, which is pretty nice. Now heading the Necron Lord over here, so I now head to the heavy cover, because Necrons do not benefit from cover, so I have a big upside if I stand in this heavy cover, and even just letting one of my squads being attacked by the Necron Lord isn't a big of an issue. I just stand here, have my defensive bonuses from the cover. I think my Preacher squad sadly died, or is it? No, there they are. They need to move a little more inside. So the defense bonuses from heavy cover and the Preacher stack, so this is a little misplay. They would need to stand actually over here. Other than that, I'm now just reinforcing and standing here. This is the Imperial Fist way. You do not run away in engagements like this. You stand here and fight. Even if one of your squads is getting tied up by the Necron Lord. I could have also moved them out of the way, but they also deal some damage in melee, so I might as well stand here. One squad of Necron Warriors with only one dude is running away. Some Space Marines are lost, but in general I have quite a good economy over here. I wanted to build a turret over here because I started my generator, so I wanted to build it over here. But I think there will be some, there comes the Necron Lord, so I abandoned this idea, also the Necron Warriors. So I wanted to get cheeky and a turret over here, but now I'm saving up for my Siege Captain. There you go. Siege captain will now be added, and then yeah, I think another Space Marine squad, and then just a move. So I save my relic over here, move on. The breachers here need to move over here. These breachers are also now here. I think I forget about them all game, I think, which is kind of sad. Over here, this Tech Marine now runs away. There's still this listing post which is upgraded. And yeah, now it's basically reinforcing them as much as I can. And yeah, a move to the enemy. The Siege Captain is on the way. My last Space Marine squad is also on the way. And the idea is just to overpower. You have so many Space Marines here, with all the smiley faces on their shoulders here, all being very heavy. The Breachers being used, the Breacher Siege Marines used to decap and cap because they're capped faster than normally, also getting now a turret because why the heck not? Yeah, in comes the flayed ones, but they can break my morale all they want actually. This is, as I said, the Stubborness is effective. So they're now, the morale is broken, but now they move slower and deal more damage. So I'm all fine with it. I'm just standing here. Flayed ones also breaking the morale of my lads, but that's okay. I can fight all day with broken morale over here. The flayed ones, not the best idea, I guess. Getting some economy upgrades. In comes the how much is it? The 5th squad of Space Marines and the Siege Captain also. And yeah, he is immediately has broken morale, also fighting stronger now. And yeah, I can just stand here and overpower Necrons. Quickly want to check what his economy. His economy is actually not bad, but yeah, he calls it. He has no way to deal with this blob of infantry. And as the Siege Captain is now out, I could also get the which I haven't used here. I would have used it if I would go bash his generators, the exchangement for the missile launchers. And if I would stay even more longer tier 1, I could got in the melter bomb research if needed, also helping quite a lot with enemy generators. So this was relatively quick game, but yeah, this is kind of how Space Marine spam works out. It is a quick way of pressuring your opponent, and either they have a way to deal with your tide of Space Marines or they do not. And yeah, this is one of the, I think, best ways of play Imperial Fists. We played a few more games where I tried some other different openers and stuff, and yeah, there was kind of a good game where I tried to get Thunderfire cannons, but eventually got overpowered relatively easy because he's also the better player. So yeah, there you go. Max only shows his wins, never shows his losses. Alright guys, this finishes up this guide. If you have some more information that I have missed, or if I told you some information that were completely wrong, please add and correct me in the comments. Not add me, but add the information and correct me in the comments. If you liked it, you might as well leave a comment and a like as well. Always appreciate it. And yeah, without further ado, thanks for watching guys, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.